Welcome. The first thing I wish to uh, state straight out, this is not the approved USERR German American fishing course. This is not the official course. I am putting this together to work as sort of cliff notes or primers for those wishing to take the class. I will cover items in here that's not currently covered in the class, but that I feel should be. There are areas that I will not cover that are covered in the class. Again, this is only a primer. If, excuse me, if you are temporary deployed, and unless it changes, you are allowed to acquire a temporary or tourist fishing license. I highly suggest you watch all of these videos. It will keep you from making possible career ruining issues or mistakes while you're fishing in Germany. You are not in a different country, you're in a different world. Their fishing regulations and so on can be, at best, what we would consider counterintuitive. You make a mistake, there are some things in here, such as how to properly land, kill a fish, and so on. If you do it improperly or you're caught not doing it, you could face up to a mandatory 2 years in German prison. This would not bode well for your military career. Okay? Peeing in the forest can net you up to over 2,000 euro. Dumping fish parts. If you clean a fish, you can't clean it on the shoreline because you cannot leave components of that fish on the shore, in the water, or in the adjacent ground slash shrubbery slash forest area. This can net you excessive fines and for improper disposal of biological components. So if you're here on a tourist license and you're not fishing with someone who has a valid German fishing license, watch this, please. It will save you, or could possibly save you, some serious issues, as well as other minor infractions and fines and everything else. There are some laws, if you break them, they will confiscate your gear, they will confiscate your vehicle. You will then face fines and possibly jail time as well. So, let's get moving and get into this. There's been a lot of myths, disinformation, horror stories, all concerning fishing and hunting in Germany. And I decided to take all the information available, put it together, and create sort of a primer for individuals who may be interested in acquiring a fishing license while stationed or deployed to Germany. The last information the PDFs put out originally for this class date back to the early 2000s, 2013, 2015. A lot has changed. As of 2025, some laws were revamped and changed, and currently an entire new class course is being constructed, to my knowledge, to accept and work with those changes. I am a medically retired disabled veteran of foreign wars. I am a volunteer as a fishing instructor for my area in Bavaria, Germany, for the military's German-American fishing class. I get no compensation or anything from that. I'm not paid by the government. I'm not part of the government. I'm simply a volunteer. And what I have done is brought it up to current speed, corrected the misspellings, corrected the mistranslations to the best of my knowledge or my ability, and then using resources such as scientific and medical journals, fishing sites, data information, everything that I could to put together and reconstruct what would essentially be a primer for anyone wanting to take the fishing class. Again, they're making changes to the course even as I speak, so some things will change. However, there's simply some things after me looking through the 2025 law changes that this should assist you in taking, comprehending, and passing the course. All the video, the pictures, the graphics, and so on, either I developed or pulled from sites making the appropriate changes necessary for this class. And to my knowledge, all of that, to the best of my ability, has been open source or free to use. Again, all of this, I do not make any money off of it. I get no compensation from it. It is to assist those in or associated with the military with logistic support to allow them to better comprehend, understand, and pass the German fishing class in order to obtain a fishing license. That's it on that. Let's move along. All right. All of this breaks down to basically a couple of things. One, if you are a German national with no logistic support, you would spend thousands of euro, extensive class times in theory. Then you would have to, under the observation of a paid instructor in the field, show that you are able to tie the various knots, able to efficiently and humanely land, measure, gauge, and determine if a fish is to be released or not, which includes species identification. You got to know what you're pulling out of the water to know whether it's in closed season or not. Once you have successfully passed the outdoor rec course and the test, this will give you the necessary certification to obtain a German fishing license from the local German authorities. The course is taught in English. Its focus is German fishing laws, traditions, fish identification, and safety procedures not only for yourself, but in the proper handling of the fish. As stated, you must fall underneath the status of forces agreement and have logistical support. Logistical support is very important. Without that, you cannot take the class on the base. Different bases, different outdoor recs have different procedures for doing this course. There's the minimalist. There is, like in the case of the courses that I assist in teaching, we try to hold as close to the German standard as possible. If you are a German national spouse and you have logistical support, you're married to someone who's under the SOFA agreement, you fall under the SOFA agreement, blah, 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 you can take the class. However, some German spouses prefer to take the standard German Fischerprüfung or fishing exam through the local German system. This is typically what they call a Landfischerverband, or basically a local fishing club that's certified, that has someone certified to give and take and mark the classes and to give the test and so on. And if the German spouse has trouble with the English language, then it is probably best that they take the German. But again, they're going to have to pay the German prices, go through the German process. Americans, instead of several thousands of euros, will pay around €100, which includes the class, the test, helping procure the appropriate paperwork, and everything involved in that. You also would typically get a membership into the gun and rod club for that outdoor rec area. The basic steps to acquire a fishing license. It is not as difficult as a lot of people want to believe. It's a different country. They have a different process. That is all. While we would take our ID, driver's license, whatever, and go to a tackle shop or a Lowe's or Walmart, Kmart, whoever happens to sell the fishing license for that area, and pay for our fishing license, then if I want to go somewhere, it either has to be public waters to fish, or if it's private, I may have to pay entry fees. Individuals who has done deer hunting, people who have paid extra for salmonoid stamps for salmon season in their fishing license will understand this process. I may have a hunting license, but I've still got to get my deer tags. I may have a fishing license, but I've still got to get my salmonoid tags. All right. Here in Germany, there is no open water as we understand it. It's owned by someone. It's a small country. Land is a premium. So you would contact Outdoor Recreation for the class times, pay for, complete the test requirements, receive your completion diploma or certificate. You would take the certificate, the diploma, and all needed paperwork. In some cases, you must have the signed approval from your appropriate chain of command to the Landratsamt, which is the city office. You will take in your payment in euro. You will take in the appropriate paperwork and buy your license. Now, one of the variants is if you live on base, you may have to go to one city office. If you live off of base, and think of it as like a county line, you live across the county line, you've got to go to that county office instead to process your paperwork. So you may work on a base with people, you may take the class on the base with people. However, if, say, they live in single soldier or family quarters on base, and you live off of base, and you're across that state or county line, not the state, but the county line, then you may have to go to a different office than they would to get the license. The process is totally the same. Fishing licenses come in basically a couple of different types. You have an annual, a 3-year, a 5-year, or a lifetime at the time of this posting. The price of a lifetime license will vary based upon your age at the time of the application process, which basically means when you go in and go, I want to buy my fishing license, here's my documentation, however old you are at that time is what they will base the cost of your lifetime license on. Basically it. Now, the only other variance that some people for some reason can't wrap their heads around is, as I stated, there is no public waters for angling. There's no public lands for hunting. It's all owned by someone. The federal, state, the region, the area, the city, a fishing club, there are clubs over here that have held fishing rights to certain waterways since the friggin' Middle Ages. These people have a lot of history. They have a lot of traditions. They deal with things differently than what we are used to. That is all. So instead of being able to simply buy my license, not go out and fish, all I have to do is go to a local tackle shop. Each tackle shop throughout Germany has contracts with the federal government, the state, and private owners on where you can fish. And so, like in the States, we would walk in to buy our fishing license. In this case, we already have the license. You would take your passport, your license, any other required identification for that area, go into the tackle shop, and purchase your water permit. Water permits typically come as either an annual, a weekly, a weekend, or a daily. Dailies will typically run around 15 or 20 euro a day. Weekends are a bit cheaper. Weeklies are a bit cheaper. Annual overall may cost you a couple of €100, but would be cheaper if you were fishing every day, which in most cases, as soldiers and so on, you're not. I would suggest staying either with a weekend or a daily water permit. In the long term, it will save you money. Now, with that in mind, you would then go fishing. It's that simple. It's only a single added step in the process that we are not familiar with in the United States. The reason for the class is the Germans want to know that you understand their laws, which can vary greatly from those in the United States. That's it. You're basically learning and being able to prove that you understand their laws, that you're willing to follow their laws, and that you have the basic field knowledge in order to execute being an angler in a legal fashion. So, you're deployed, you get here in Germany, you get processed in, you find out from Outdoor Rec when a class is, you pay for it, take the class, take the paperwork to the Landratsamt, get your license, go to the tackle shop, buy your weekend or daily permit, and go fishing. It's that simple. Fishing license, except for the lifetime, if you maintain and keep those license and that paperwork, if you rotate back to Germany again, it is a simple process of going in and renewing that license. You've already taken the class, you have everything, you simply go to the Landratsamt and say, here's my old license, here's my identification, I want a new annual license. That's simple. If you're going to be here with family on a 2 to 3 year tour, I suggest the 3-year license is the cheapest. And that's about it. Whoops. There we go. Hand flipped. So that's about it. And we will now cover the basics, the cliff notes, if you will, in what is covered in the fishing class at this time. Again, laws change, commands change, things change over time. However, most of the information in this video selection will stay relevant in one form or another. So it will behoove you to at least peruse through them and take it to heed. This especially comes in important. The Germans, you can also get a tourist license. It's only good for a couple of months. However, you are still responsible to know their laws and to follow them. You're still just as liable under the law for prosecution and fines if you break the law, whether you have a tourist license or not. If you're going to get a tourist license while visiting, say for a short rotation or whatever, then I highly suggest you get with Outdoor Rec, find someone who has taken the class, and go fishing with them so that they can basically ensure that you don't get into trouble. That simple. By following most of this information, you will already have a heads up on what you're dealing with, and it will make the entire experience much easier. That ends this section, and we will now move into the actual class information section on some of the information, in some parts in greater detail in this than what you will receive in the class, because I simply don't have the time to give you all the data that you need, or at least that I believe you should have. So buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy and possibly boring ride in some cases. Nobody likes learning about laws.